Hello, my little Jimmers. My name is Miss Sammy, and today I'm going to be reading you guys a little bit of a story. This one is called The Tale of Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter. Let's get started. Ready? Okie dokie. Once upon a time, there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy, Mopsy, Cottontail, and Peter. They lived with their mother in a rabbit hole under a big fir tree. "Now, my dears," said old Mrs. Rabbit, "one morning you can go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Mr. Gregor's garden. Your father had an accident there. Mrs. McGregor put him in a pie." She baked him in a pie? What? "Now run along and don't get into trouble. I'm going out." Then old Mrs. Rabbit took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought some bread. I love bread. Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail were good little bunnies. They went down the lane to gather blackberries. But Peter ran straight away to Mr. McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. First, he ate some lettuce and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes. Then he felt rather sick. He went to look for some parsley. Maybe that would make him feel better. But there he met Mr. McGregor. Oh no! Mr. McGregor was on his hands and knees. He was planting out young cabbages. But he jumped up and ran after Peter. He waved a rake and called out, "Stop, thief, stop!" Peter was terribly frightened. He ran all over the garden because he had forgotten the way back to the gate. Oh no! He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages and the other shoe among the potatoes, and now he has no shoes. What is he going to do? Then he ran on 4 legs and went even faster. He might have got away if he had not run into a gooseberry net and got caught by the buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. Dang it. Peter gave himself up for lost and cried. But some friendly sparrows heard him. They flew to him and implored him to exert himself. Mr. McGregor came up with a seed. He wanted to pop it upon the top of Peter, but Peter wriggled out just in time. Yay! He had to leave his jacket behind, though. And he rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. The can was full of water. Oh, he's going for a quick little swim. Mr. McGregor was sure that Peter was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps under a flower pot. He began to turn all the flower pots over and looked under each. Presently, Peter sneezed. Kertsy-choo! Oh! Mr. McGregor was after him in no time. Oh no! And tried to put his foot upon Peter, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Mr. McGregor, and he was tired of running after Peter. He went back to his work. He said, "Oh, well, whatever." Peter sat down. He was out of breath, and frightened, and he didn't know which way to go. And he was very wet because he sat in the can. After a time, he began to wander about and look around. Guys, look around the room. Where's he going to go? He found a door in a wall, but it was locked. An old mouse was running in and out over the stone doorstep. She was carrying peas and beans to her family. Peter asked her for the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she couldn't answer. She only shook her head, and Peter began to cry again. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. He came to a pond where Mr. McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched a little bit. Peter thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly he heard the noise of a hoe. Scritch, scratch, scratch, scritch. Peter jumped underneath the bushes, but as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and looked around. The first thing he saw was Mr. McGregor. His back was turned towards Peter, and behind him was the gate. Peter got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could. Mr. McGregor was at the corner, but Peter didn't care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Oh, phew! That was a close one. Mr. McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for his scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Peter never stopped running or looked behind him until he got home. He was so tired that he fell down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and closed his eyes. His mother was cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Peter had lost in a fortnight. Oh, he doesn't keep track of things very nicely. Peter was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made him some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Peter. One tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. But Flopsy, Mopsy, and Cottontail had bread and milk and blackberries for supper. Aw, that was such a good story. Thank you guys for helping me read and listening along with me. Thank you guys. All right, bye from the Little Gem. See you guys later.